Howdy, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello, howdy. Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another live one. New West Reset live, episode 124 here today. Talking about the Great Plains people. We're going to look at one of the tribes of the Old World here in the New World. Up in Canada land, we refer to it as the prairies. In the US, the Great Plains. Same thing. Wow, somebody's revving the hell out of their engine out there. Right out of the gates, eh, buddy? While I'm trying to do the live show, you're just giving her. Right? Like I'm 2 minutes into the thing. Take it easy over there. Settle down. What are you, Ricky Bobby? Sorry. Neighbor must be working on his car. He's revving the hell out of it. Slow it down, bud. Jesus, Murphy. Sweet baby, Jeebus. Take it easy. Anyway. Thank you here. Thank you for joining me here. Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. 5 p.m. local time. Well, just a hair past 5 p.m. local time. And as always, we're coming at you live from Calgary, Alberta, southern Alberta, Purdy, Alberta. What's up in Canada land there, eh, buddy? So thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly. Now the birds are going crazy out there. Stop it. The ravens are fighting with the magpies. Terrific. That's what I need out my window. It's nice out, so the window's open. And normally you hear the chirping of the birds. It's lovely. Lovely. But when the magpies start pestering the ravens ain't having it. And they get to fussing and fighting. Anyway. Getting all sidetracked here. We're going to be looking at the Blackfoot Nation here. It's today's National Indigenous Peoples Day here in Canada. Every day is National Something Day. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a look at the Blackfoot Nation here in Alberta. We've looked at some Indigenous, Native Indigenous Canadian nations before. Indians. Looked at the Mi'kmaq peoples out Nova Scotia way. Well, it's, other parts of Eastern Canada and the US, but right here in Southern Alberta, well, all over Alberta, but mostly in Central and Southern Alberta, the Blackfoot Nation. And they are what are known as they're the Plains Indians, right? They follow the buffalo, supposedly. So yeah, have a look at that. So thanks for joining me here, and really appreciate you joining me. If you haven't already, I got one of these. It just helps to push me out into the thing. Do all the other YouTube things down here. That'd be great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Links below for everything we're going to cover, including, guys' social media and email. You can get a hold of a fella. And of course, links for the Green Fighting platform, the Bumble, because we're broadcasting live simultaneously. So howdy to everybody on YouTubes and Bumble. If you're watching this after the live, really appreciate your support as well. How's everybody doing? It's lovely today. 50, it just went up a degree. 15 degrees Celsius here today. It's like 62, 63-ish. It's not the best, but we had rain and thunderstorms all day yesterday there, eh? So, she's warming up. It's all right. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat, in the box. See how everybody's doing. Huh? How's everybody enjoying their weekend so far? Kathy Broughton is here. Howdy, Kathy. Good to see you. Realm Dweller over on the aforementioned Rumble. Hello, hello, welcome. Good to see you. I think I saw Baja. Yes, there's Baja in the box. Hello. Hi, hippie. Hippie shake. Hello, hello. Always good to see hippie. Title. Hey, guy, rev your engine on that. Eh? How do you like that? There, I could be loud too, buddy. Turtle's here. Doesn't make sense. Good to see you, Turtle. Water the Tree. Hello, hello. Enjoyed your videos today? Go check out Water the Tree. Show the fella some. He's down in Missouri, way down there. Down in Missouri. Boots on the ground and explorations. Over there, show him some support. Check out his uploads. Give him the thing and the stuff. Newwim. I always butcher your name. I'm sorry. Newwim. Gotta come up with a nickname for you or something. Because I always make a damn fool of myself. Carmichael's here. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for winding down your weekend here, everybody. Really appreciate it. It's Sunday Fun Day. Woo! So as mentioned, links below for everything. We're going to look at the, the standard, right? The Wikipedia. Got a couple of other websites that we can have a look at. We'll have a look at some photos, a little bit of history of the Blackfoot. Those of you that live here in Canada land, you're probably familiar with the Blackfoot Nation. In the States, known as the Blackfeet. I don't know why. I even asked an old... Sorry. I'm cracking myself up. It's too late to stop now. I even asked an old Indian lady once. A Blackfoot lady. So I said, in the States, Blackfeet, right? And she said, yeah. I said, why? She said, I don't know. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you for your ancient Indian wisdom on that. She's like, I couldn't tell you. And she was old, too. It's not like she was just some uninformed millennial or you know what I mean? She was old. She was like in her 80s or something. So, all right. She doesn't know. I kind of left it at that, but I'm sure somebody knows. I'm sure I don't know. I've kind of looked into why in Canada they're known as the Blackfoot, and in the States, Blackfeet. It's not like they only have one foot up here. It's not like there's a bunch of peg-legged Indians running around up here. I don't know what the hell. Make it pretty tough to ride a horse, wouldn't it? Maybe that's why most old-timey people with a wooden peg leg were pirates, because they didn't have to ride horses much. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no idea. Anyway, thanks for joining me. As mentioned, links below. We'll look at some old photographs as well. But before we get the ball rolling, I've got just some old, not super old, but I've got some video footage from, it said it's the 1950s. It could be the late 40s or very early 50s. But this is Blackfoot, a couple of ceremonies just put together. They're erecting a medicine lodge, and then they're having a whoop-up, not a powwow, a whoop-up. Apparently a whoop-up is just where you have your one tribe, right? And they would have a big thing, a feast or a wedding or some kind of party, or they were doing some kind of ceremony. So they'd have the fire and the music and the dancing and the chanting and the music and the singing and the fire. You know. And a powwow supposedly is when tribes, different tribes or nations get together to have a sit down and have a chat, make sure everything's copacetic. And then afterwards they have a feast or a party, and they do the singing and they have the fire and the dancing and the chanting and the drumming and the singing and the dancing. But this video is them. Vincent says, I live, Cousin Vinny snuck in. I didn't even see you, Cousin Vinny. How you doing? General Fitty Tree is here as well. Hello. Cousin Vinny says, I live near Blackfoot Trail. You're in Calgary, yeah. I live near Crowchild Trail, which is Chief Crowchild, who was a Blackfoot chief. I don't know much about Indigenous peoples. I guess I know more than some and less than others. I don't know. I'm just a pale-faced cracker. I don't know. I just find it interesting. And I find the story of Indigenous peoples to be quite fascinating. And they've been bamboozled like the rest of us about hidden history, about being lied to. Yeah, Americans and Canadians would probably be familiar with, if not the Blackfoot, then so-called nations or tribes that are similar, right? Great Plains Indigenous peoples. And people over in Europe, I know from kind of firsthand, especially people in the UK, find the North American Indian to be quite fascinating. And some of that comes from, wasn't it Buffalo Bill or Wild Bill Cody, or who's the guy who had the Wild West show? Buffalo Bill? Buffalo Bill's Wild West show? We brought Geronimo, and he'd have all these shoot 'em up reenactments and stuff. He brought that over to somewhere in the UK, I think in London, sure, in London, England. But the dime novels and all that. And that helped to perpetuate, I think, a lot of the stereotypes, but a lot of the changing of the history, or of the obscuring of some of their old world true history. Anyway, so yeah, before I get the ball rolling, I got off on a huge tangent. So this video is them erecting a lodge, the Blackfoot, and then there's ceremonial dancing. And I've put it with some music. The music is called the Medicine Song. It's from an old 1920s recording, actually on a record, an old record, like that old-timey record back there. So I figured it's very appropriate. We'll have a nice medicine song, get into some good juju here, some good mojo. And yeah, then we can kind of check out some of these links and see what's what. So as mentioned, this was labeled 1950s. So it's definitely late 40s, early 50s. There is a flash of some old cars. The original video of this is, I think, 20-some minutes long. This is just a few minutes. So this is I'm assuming is the tribal medicine man or shaman, because as they're erecting the lodge, he'll come and give, I guess, the equivalent of a blessing. You go through a ceremony to bring good luck or good spirits to the lodge building that they're erecting. And then afterwards, they have a big party. This guy's already getting into it. I like his hat, by the way. It's a nice hat. Again, this song is called the Medicine Song. Old World Mi'kmaq in the box. Kwe Nita. Good to see you. Hello, hello. I keep jammering on, so I kind of restarted it here. See the one of the elders there is wearing one of the grandfathers, I guess, is wearing a bay blanket, sort of off-white, almost wool stripes running horizontally. Channel 53, some are wearing cowboy hats. Yeah, cowboy hats. Indigenous natives wear cowboy hats, or they wear those hats that kind of look like Smokey the Bear hats. But they'll put a bunch of big ass feathers on one side of it. Looks awesome. But yeah, cowboy hats. Because I mean, cowboy hats. I mean, they're known as cowboy hats because the cowboys. But you know, that's again we're brainwashed, right, to the stereotypes of the cowboys and the Indians. The cowboys wear the cowboy hats, and the Indians wear the feathers. And to some extent, that's true. But there were indigenous cowboys, especially in the prairies or in the Great Plains, like Oklahoma, Texas, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Montana, Wyoming. But yeah. You'd think, you know, why they wearing cowboy hats? They're not cowboys, but yeah, they're a very practical hat. They keep the sun off you. You don't get too hot. Like it provides shade, but it also your head doesn't get too hot. So yeah, cowboy hat's pretty practical there. But yeah, I see what you're getting at. It's like, wait, some confusion here. And again, the song is called the Medicine Song, and it's from the 1920s, but this video footage is from 1950-ish. Baja in the boxes. Hopefully these traditions are still active. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. Some of them have, there's been a revival actually amongst a lot of what you would say are younger generation of Indigenous peoples, at least here in Canada that I've seen. You know, they're learning the old ways from their elders and their grandparents. There was a lot of cattle farming here in southern Alberta. And once pioneers and European settlers started moving their way into southern Alberta, a lot of Indigenous peoples actually took up ranching. I think there was a lot of Blackfoot that actually started cattle ranches in the teens and then the 20s. Got to strike while the iron is hot. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's a lot that, I mean, I've been to quite a few whoop-ups, and also there's powwows, what you would traditionally call a powwow at the Stampede every year. And this is kind of a wind-up to the Stampede, the Calgary exhibition in Stampede, the world's largest rodeo, and it's right here in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada land, believe it or not. Land of the frozen north, eh? But somehow we got the rodeo, 10 days. But the Indigenous First Nations peoples are a huge part of the rodeo in terms of the exhibitions and a lot of the competitions, and a lot of the rodeo cowboys, the competitors in different events, are native. There's an ambulance going by. Shout out to Terry Light. There it is. Great. Wouldn't be a live show without some kind of racket going on out there. Ambulance going by. Sorry about that. Oh, jeez. That's just great. Anyway, welcome to the amateur hour. But yeah, the dancing, the costumes are very embellished compared to what the more traditional costumes are. If you go to Heritage Park, Cousin Vinny and I have been to Heritage Park, and they do have a quote unquote Indian village set up in and around where the reproduction of the Hudson's Bay fur trading fort is. Remember that, Cousin Vinny? And they had a few teepees and a lodge house set up there. And I was talking to that elder Blackfoot lady. And it was like a museum in those teepees. You know, each one inside was set up with different exhibits. And, you know, they're showing, you know, traditional clothing and everyday items and, you know, blankets and all kinds of stuff, footwear, artwork, weaving and pottery and all of that stuff. And, you know, from like the 1800s, you know, the mid to late 1800s. I mean, you could see where the, you know, the modern day, more costumized version of that comes from. Because their daily clothing was still quite embellished, at least from what's been preserved. I mean, who knows pre, you know, 1800s? I don't know, but imagine it didn't change much. It only makes sense that the coastal peoples would use small seashells as trinkets and jewelry and stuff to make their clothing more attractive. What's going on out there? What's happening? Is there a fire, an accident? What? Sheesh. Sorry about that. It's getting out of hand out there. Jeez, you'd think I lived in some war-torn city somewhere. No, it's nothing here but cowboys and stuff. Jeez, slow down out there. Anyways, yeah, the costumes today are very embellished, especially for formal ceremonies and stuff. But it's not that far removed. I mean, there is sort of a hierarchy to the headdresses and how they're embellished. The sirens, that's the sound of Canada nowadays. Yeah, I think you're right. Old world Mi'kmaq, I think you're right. Yeah, it's like a crime wave out there. No, it's just two ambulances, actually. I don't know why. The roads are dry. It hasn't rained all day today. Yesterday would have been the day for sirens. It was windy too, man. 3 boughs blowing by, and the rain coming at you diagonally or kind of sideways in your eyeballs. This is fun. Walking to work in this at 9 in the morning. It's terrific. I love this. Anyway, yeah, you could see from the exhibit they had at Heritage Park to the videos where it's quite embellished that it's not that far removed. It's not like it goes from really primitive to really ridiculous. It's not like they're dressed like Mardi Gras or something here, you know? It's just a little bit more fanciful. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was near the Buffalo Rubbing Stone at Heritage Park. That's right, by the fort.
There's a town I know where the hipsters go called Bedrock. Twitch, twitch, when you get an itch, then you do the twitch in Bedrock. Twitch, twitch, and Rock is gonna roll with all his might in Bedrock. Twitch, twitch.
Frankie lives in a crime-ridden town. No, it's actually not that bad, really. it's I mean, it's not like the friendly small. You've heard of Southern hospitality, right? There's this thing called out here in Canada called Western hospitality. Like, howdy, y'all. Y'all come here. How y'all doing? Why don't y'all sit down? Get yourself. Can I get you something to drink? You know, we're like that. And then when you're leaving, well, y'all come back now. Here's so nice and friendly like for you to come on by. Especially back in the day when it was just a bunch of yokels living out here in the 1940s and 50s. You know, it was just a bunch of oil barons and cattle barons and just regular folk, you know. But now we're like creeping up on 2 billion people here, and it's she's getting busy. But the problem is just like any other big city, right? It's them dang harsh chemical drugs, the fentanyls and all that, turning people into actual living, breathing zombies. Those poor souls, you know, that poison. That's a hell of a monkey. I got to tell you what, that is a hell of a monkey. Pity any poor soul. But yeah, that's the problem, right? Is they're everywhere. They're in the parks. These kids are scared to go and play in the park. And what a cop's going to do? They can't do nothing. They're going to give them a fine. They got no address, no phone number, no nothing. You think they're going to pay a $200 fine or whatever? You know, and then they get desperate for their fix, right? So, you know, they'll shoplift. They could flip stuff for quick cash or at a pawn shop or whatever. It's amazing, the shady pawn shops. They're everywhere. Doesn't matter how big or small of a city or town you live in. There's always going to be a couple of pawn shops close by. And if there's two or more, one of them is going to be shady. They're not going to ask you, where'd you get this? You got any receipts for this? You got a title for the... No. Look, say, man, I got me these gold earrings and these pearl earrings. Really? Yeah, but you don't look like you wear earrings, sir. Nah, man, these were my grandmama's earrings, man. And like, I was just, you know, how much you give me for these, man? The guy doesn't even ask any questions. Tell you what, I'll give you $30 cash. Man, that's real gold, man. Come on, work with me, man. I'm trying to work with you here, man. That's pearls and real gold, man. All right, $35 cash and get out of here. All right, you got a deal. You my man. You got a deal. So, you know, it's a pity. Other than that, there's like drive-bys and stuff like that around here. Not really. The cops are more aggressive than the criminals are, I find. You know, the cops can be approachable, but some of them are pretty gung-ho. You know, some of them have only been on the force for a handful of years. It's like, whoa there, Sam Steele. Pump the brakes there, bud. Easy there, 82. Slow her down, bud, okay? You ain't got to be treating me like I'm a criminal, all right? I'm taking video on the sidewalk. Just take a video of this here old church. It's fine. I'm not trespassing. What, some lady called you and said I was casing the building? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, that's fine. In broad daylight with a gimbal and a camera. Using my own phone as the camera, actually, so that I'm just handing over evidence of me right there on my own phone if I was casing the joint. The criminals are dumb, but are they that dumb? But yeah, the cops roll up on you like you're, I don't know, set fire to their mother's house and shooting their dog. I don't know. It's like, whoa, man. Remember when the cop was a guy with a blue shirt, and a billy club, and a flashlight on his belt, you know, walking the beat, you know, the Flatfoot, right? If you're a little kid and you got lost, parents told you go find a policeman, and you could find a policeman. You'd be tears, babbling because your 5-year-old self was terrified because you got lost or whatever. And the cop would help you out, man. You weren't scared of the cop. Now if I had children, I would tell those kids, you know what? If you get lost, you go find a fireman. You go find a firefighter. Every 6 blocks, there's a fire hall. You're going to find a firefighter. You that are paramedic. I know it's kind of a shame. And not all cops are like that, but I've had some cops that wave at me as I'm videoing and they drive by in their squad car, their cruiser or whatever. And I'm videoing a building and they happen to drive through the frame. They wave. I wave back. I mean, that's cool. But sometimes some of their training is very militarized training. The uniforms now are way different. It's like, what are you doing, man? You planning on goose stepping through Poland in 1939? What's going on with the uniform there, buddy? I mean, the old Mountie uniforms were crazy enough with them poofy pants and that Smokey the Bear hat, but the red tunic. You know what they say? Never trust anybody in a tunic. Anyway, let's look at the Wikipedia here and look a little bit into what the official story is of the Blackfoot peoples. And again, links below for everything we're covering here on the show. The Wikipedia Blackfoot Confederacy. Let's see what's going on here. The Blackfoot Confederacy, or here we go. The Nitsitapi or Siksika-Sitapi, meaning the people or the Blackfoot-speaking real people, is a historic collective name for linguistically related groups that make up the Blackfoot or Blackfeet people. There it is right there. Blackfoot or Blackfeet. Well, which one are you? Take your pick there, buddy. It's fine. It's no big deal, eh? We don't even call ourselves Blackfeet or Blackfoot, so you idiots have been calling us Indians for 1,000 years. We're not from India, so you didn't find India when you supposedly what was it? What is it? Columbus discovered North America and I thought he made it to India, so he named the indigenous peoples that he encountered in the New World Indians, and the name stuck. Really, since 1492, nobody tapped nobody on the shoulder and corrected them on this. Hey, listen here, buddy. Eh, we're not Indians. Eh, we're Siksika. Okay, we're Mi'kmaq. Okay, like whatever they are, right? Nope. Yeah, you're Indians. Well, okay, we're Indians. But anyways, it just always struck me as funny. Anyways, they're Blackfoot or Blackfeet. The Siksika, Blackfoot, and the Kane or Blood, many chiefs, and two sections of the Pagan or Piikani, the splotchy robe, the northern Piikani, and the southern Piikani. Oops, jumping all over the place here, sorry. There we go. I got lost. Sorry. It's amateur hour. Anyways, broader definitions include groups such as the Tsutsina or Sarsi. Yeah, we have a Sarsi Trail here in Calgary. They like to name major thoroughfare streets and avenues through Calgary here after Indigenous peoples. Sarsi Trail, Blackfoot Trail. I don't know. It's a thing. We have a Métis Trail now, too. Sure, why not? So they spoke quite different languages, but allied with or joined the Blackfoot Confederacy. So completely different languages and cultures, but are associated with the Blackfoot Confederacy. of 1859. Historically, the member peoples of the Confederacy were nomadic bison hunters and trout fishermen who ranged across large areas of the northern Great Plains of western North America, specifically the semi-arid shortgrass prairie ecological region. They followed the bison herds as they migrated between what is now the United States and Canada land, as far north as the Bow River. Well, that's right over. I can see it out my window right now, the Bow River. In the first half of the 18th century, they acquired horses and firearms from white traders and their Cree and Assiniboine go-betweens. Oh, yes, Assiniboine, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. The Cree were a big nation out here as well. Blackfoot used these to expand the territory at the expense of neighboring tribes. Yeah, they're pretty fierce, apparently. Again, this is all by what we're told, what they say, but today, 3 Blackfoot First Nation band governments, the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani nations, reside in the Canadian province of Alberta, while the Blackfeet Nation is a federally recognized Native American tribe of southern Piikani in Montana, United States. Blackfoot Nation officially named the Blackfeet tribe, Blackfeet Indian Reservation, Montana, federally recognized tribe of single people with an Indian reservation, Montana. It's basically, yeah, they're the exact same peoples as here in southern Alberta, exactly the same. I mean, that's this border here is between, there's Alberta, and here's Montana, and there's Saskatchewan. So there's Idaho. So this is just an arbitrary line. I mean, they had a massive, the Blackfoot had a massive, Blackfoot slash the Blackfeet, massive territory. The 4 Blackfoot nations come together to make up what is known as the Blackfoot Confederacy, meaning that they have banded together to help one another. The nations have their own separate governments ruled by a head chief, but regularly come together for religious and social celebrations. Yeah, man, you can have a big family reunion or cookout. You gotta have a whoop up. Might as well. Originally, the Blackfoot Plains Confederacy consisted of 3 peoples, nation, tribes, and tribal nations based on kinship and dialect, but all speaking the common language of Blackfoot, one of the Algonquin language family. Okay, then get back into the 3 again, yada, yada, yada. They later allied with unrelated Tsuut'ina or Sarsi, who became merged into Confederacy at the time. Yeah, so, yeah, because we have a Tsuut'ina reservation, and we have a Siksika reservation close by. Each of these highly decentralized peoples were divided into many bands, which range in size from 10 to 30 lodges, or about 80 to 240 persons. So they're saying lodge, but they're showing a bloody teepee. There's a difference. Lodges were way bigger, and they were mostly made of wood. They weren't made out of hide or later on canvas that they traded with the Hudson's Trading Company. They were made out of, they actually called the type of trees that they like to cut down to build the lodges, they called them lodge poles. And often the really choice ones, oh, this is a good one, Bod. They would take it with them if they moved. I'm not going to find another good one like this, Bod. We each carry a couple of these. We're good. Dang, Wikipedia. The Confederacy occupied a large territory where they hunted and foraged. In the 19th century, it was divided into the current Canada-U.S. international border. But during the late 19th century, both governments forced the peoples to end their nomadic traditions and settle on Indian reserves, Canadian terminology, or Indian reservations, U.S. terminology. The South Piegan are the only group who chose to settle in Montana. The other three Blackfoot-speaking peoples and the Sarcee are located in Alberta. Together, the Blackfoot speakers call themselves the Niitsitapi, the original people. After leaving the Confederacy, the Gros Ventre also settled in a reservation in Montana. So their territory stretched from northern Saskatchewan. Oh, no, the North Saskatchewan River, excuse me. Now near Edmonton, kind of in north central Alberta, to the Yellowstone River in Montana. And from the Canadian Rockies in the west to the South Saskatchewan River in the east. Past the Cypress Hills. No, not the hippity hop band, Cypress Hills. No, the actual Cypress Hills in Saskatchewan. Called the tribal territory Niitsitapi, original people's land. To the east of the Innu and Naskapi called their territory Nitassinan, our land. Adopted to the use of the horse from other plains tribes, probably in the early 18th century. Which gave them expanded range and mobility as well as advantages in hunting. Early 18th century, so in the early 1700s. Basic social unit of the Niitsitapi above the family was the band, varying from 10 to 30 lodges, yada yada people. The other size growing large enough to defend against attack and to undertake communal hunts, but also small enough for flexibility. Each band consists of a respected leader, possibly his brothers and parents, and others who are not related. Since the band was defined by place of residence rather than by kinship, the person was free to leave one band and join another, which tended to ameliorate, I don't even know what that means, leadership disputes. Also, should a band fall in hard times, its members could split up and join other bands. In practice, bands were constantly forming and breaking up. System maximized flexibility was an ideal organization for hunting people in the northwestern Great Plains. So loosely associated bands of families and extended families with other members, unrelated members. But you could join up with or welcome from other neighboring bands of the same language group and therefore the same songs and customs. And it's just like moving from one town or city to another town or city. You know what? This town sucks, man. The jobs here are crap. The air smells funny. And I'm too far away from nature, man. I'm moving out of here. And you move to a different town. I got me a job over in this place. It's a nice city, or it's a nice town, or whatever. Same thing. For almost half the year in the long northern winter, the Niitsitapi lived in their winter camps along a wooded river valley. They were located perhaps a day's march apart, not moving camp unless food for the people and horses or firewood became depleted. Where there's adequate wood and game resources, some bands would camp together. During this part of the year, buffalo was also wintered in the wooded areas. Yeah, so there you go. You could hunt the buffalo, supposedly, because there's the wood buffalo or bison, but then there's also the prairie buffalo. And the wood buffalo don't mind the snow and the cold so much because they live in the forest, what you would call forested areas. There's a lot more trees. There's grazing grass, but there's a lot more trees. Whereas the plains bison, obviously, as the name would sound, it's just like Dances with Wolves, the Kevin Costner movie. So in midsummer, when the choke cherries ripen, the people regroup for their major ceremony, the Okan or Sundance. This was the only time of the year when the four nations would assemble, gathering reinforced bonds among the various groups and linked individuals with the nations. Communal buffalo hunts. They had buffalo jumps. So the Blackfoot or Blackfeet Indians reside in the Great Plains of Montana and the Canadian provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Originally, only one of the it was called Blackfoot or Siksika, the name said to have come from the color of the people's moccasins, made of leather. They had typically dyed or painted the soles of their moccasins black. One legendary story claimed that the Siksika walked through ashes of prairie fires, which in turn colored the bottoms of their moccasins black. Or maybe just because, you walk on your moccasins a lot, and after a few days, the bottoms of your moccasins are going to be filthy and black. Dirt. You ever hear dirt? I think that it probably has something to do with something else. I don't know what, but that just sounds too cockamamie to me. That they are called the Blackfeet or the Blackfoot because their bottoms of their moccasins are black. Huh. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. It just seems weird. Hey, Eric. Eric's here. Lost and Found. History Rewritten. Howdy, bud. Good to see you. So due to language and cultural patterns, anthropologists, well, then it's got to be true because anthropologists believe it. They don't know. They believe. Why don't you just ask the Indians? Oh, I know why, because you screwed up their real history too. Anyways, they believe the Niitsitapi did not originate in the Great Plains of the Midwest North America, but migrated from the upper northeastern part of the country. They coalesced as a group while living in the forests of what is now the northeastern United States. They're mostly located around the modern-day border between Canada and the United States and the state of Maine. Why would they come? They'd have to go all the way around the Great Lakes, if in fact the Great Lakes were there already at that time. I've seen in older maps there were no Great Lakes. They show the St. Lawrence and they show the Hudson's Bay. And they might show Lake Winnipeg, but they don't show any of the Great Lakes. But anyways, if we take as a given that, okay, the Great Lakes are there, they'd have to travel westward and go around either south of or north of the Great Lakes and then just keep going west until they come like 1,000 miles. All the while going through other Indigenous peoples' lands that they probably don't speak their language and know their customs. It's not like they all spoke the same language from coast to coast to coast. It's ridiculous. Just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways, hey, Morgan, good to see you. Isabella Live 2.0. So they're mostly located around here, but by 1200, the Niitsitapi were moving in search of more land. They moved west and settled for a while north of the Great Lakes in present-day Canada, but had to compete for resources with existing. Yeah, no kidding. There's already people there, man. Already got like Algonquins and Iroquois and the Huron and they left the Great Lakes area and kept moving west. When they moved, they usually packed their belongings on an A-shaped sled called a travois. The travois was designed for transport over dry land. The Blackfoot had relied on dogs to pull the travois. They did not acquire horses until the 18th century. From the Great Lakes area, they continued to move west and eventually settled in the Great Plains. It's quite a difference in topography, weather conditions, and climate overall, right? The types of trees and other vegetation, the types of, flora and fauna. Like if you're used to, I don't know, fishing for lake trout and hunting, I don't know, moose, and then you move out to the dry-ass, bald-ass prairies of southern Alberta, where there's hardly nary a lake in sight, especially in the southern Saskatchewan and Alberta, northern Manitoba. You got rivers, but so now you have to change your, all your techniques and all of your gear. All of your tech is going to have to adapt pretty quick, or otherwise you're going to be screwed, blued, and tattooed. You know what I'm saying? I can understand if they got chased out of one place and they had no choice, but they ended up to where they are now. And then, whoa, finally, you mean to tell me there's nobody else already here too? So they got pushed westward and westward and westward, and by 1200, they were in the Great Lakes area. But then they kept getting pushed even further west, so that by the 1700s, they ended up in present-day Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Montana. And there was nobody else here, so they could finally stop and take a rest and be like, whew, people have finally stopped chasing us, man. We've been going for thousands of miles, it seems. Every time I try to get a deer or a fish, somebody's yelling at us. I don't understand what they're saying, but all I know is they want us to get the hell out of here. So they just keep moving, dragging their crap. But it doesn't say why they left. It just says, well, we're leaving. We're leaving Maine and north and far eastern Canada. Maine is where the Mi'kmaq lived and still live. Like Maine and Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland. So they came from all the way over there. You know what? I'm pulling up the goggle maps here, my goggle machine, because I know I'm beating a dead horse here. To drive home the point that, in 500 years, basically, they went from around here all the way down across here. All the while, there's people here already, so they're like, yikes, whoa, look out, man. Then they're either going to go here or here. Probably easier to go this way, I'm guessing, but I don't know. This is a Canadian Shield here. It's rough. It's all like rocky outcroppings and wooded areas. Back then, at least that's what they tell us. So they went from here, where the Mi'kmaq peoples are, all the way to here. How far is that, man? I don't even know. How do you do the thing? I can't remember how to do the thing. You measure the distance. This? No, it's not that. I can't remember how to do it. That doesn't matter. You get my drift. It's like going from like Vermont or Maine to Billings, Montana. It's like going from Portland, Maine to Billings, Montana. That's far, man. That is far. So all through here, they kept running into other people, and they're like, get out of here, man. And they finally settled in and around here. In this area that's all cooked out. Well, no wonder there's nobody else here. Everything else is green or lush mountains and forest, lakes and rivers all up in here. All these lakes in northern Saskatchewan. Even Alberta's got some decent lakes up here. But all in here is just cooked. All the way down. The Badlands are all in through here in the high desert. But I bet you there was already folks here too, and the Blackfoot made their way here, and it was just like, maybe that's the other, the other bands and tribes that joined the Confederacy eventually because they got along. I don't know. Just seems it just seems quite remarkable, if you ask me. That's all I'm saying. It's just very, very remarkable. Anyway, let's get back to that Wikipedia and kind of wind up the whole thing here quickly. I mean, it's quite extensive. So the plains had covered approximately 780,000 square miles, or 2 million square kilometers, with the Saskatchewan River to the north, the Rio Grande to the south, the Mississippi River to the east, and the Rocky Mountains to the west. Adopting the use of horse, the Niitsitapi established themselves as one of the most powerful Indian tribes on the plains in the late 18th century, earning themselves the name the Lords of the Plains. Huh. I'm just going to keep saying Blackfoot instead of this because I keep butchering this. But the Blackfoot stories trace their residents of their plains territory to time immemorial. Then it gets into the whole story of the American bison. Yeah, the buffalo jumps that they did. There's one in southern Alberta. It's called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. I gotta tell you, man, it's one thing I gotta hand to the indigenous native peoples. They're pretty cool with the names, man. Like, what's your name? Joseph Warcloud. Okay, what's your name? I'm even embarrassed to tell you, man. My name's John Smith or whatever, right? What's your name? Fred Crowfoot. Really? It's pretty kick-ass, man. What's that line from, is it Pulp Fiction? Yeah, I think it's Pulp Fiction. Where the lady cab driver asks Bruce Willis his name. He says Butch, and she says, Butch, what does that mean? And he says, I'm American, honey. Our names don't mean shit. it's kind of what it is. So they hunted pronghorn antelope, kind of the same way, using buffalo jumps. They would just drive them off. Whoopee! Up until 1730, the Blackfoot traveled by foot and used dogs to carry and pull some of their goods. They had not seen horses in their previous lands, but were introduced to them on the plains. So other tribes, such as the Shoshone, had already adopted their use. So the advantages of horses and wanted some. The Blackfoot called the horses Ponokamita, or elk dogs. They did not. Really? Maybe they did, but you got to admit some of this just sounds like they're making it up, man. But that's Wikipedia for you. Anyways, it gets into some of their enemies and the fact that the Blackfoot were a warrior culture. Something tells me that Mr. B's fan in the box. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you. Dom888, welcome, howdy. Thanks for shooting in there, bud. Well, it just seems to me like I'm wondering if at one point, because, okay, the story of the Plains Indians, right, is that they follow the migration patterns of the migrating large beasts, what we call the buffalo, the bison, right? But if you know the bison are coming, you don't got to follow them. You know what I'm saying? The bison from the north move a little further south in the winter. And the buffalo that are further south move a little bit further north, because it gets hot down there in the summer. And they get the thick fur and those big, massive heads because of the big, giant neck muscles, because they get the horns and they're always bashing each other in the heads to compete for mating rights and whatever's, right, with the herd. So it would seem like if you're in native peoples, you would just stay put. You would just set yourself right here and just wait. They got all these it said it right there in the Wikipedia once. They got the horses. They had all these hunting skills. They adapted all these new ways to hunt. They used buffalo jumps to drive a few. They'd branch a small portion off of a big herd of buffalo, and a few dozen. They'd branch them off, and they'd chase them off a cliff. They get them a few dozen buffalo. Well, that's good for the whole band or the whole tribe. They already had ways of preserving by smoking and drying. Plus, you could make pemmican. You could render down the fat and use it for fuel and candles. They did all that. Of course, they, like we always hear, right? They use for everything. The bone, the horns were for tools and weapons and jewelry. The hides or the skins or the furs or the tails or whatever were all used for footwear, headwear. I'm wondering if initially they didn't really have to, and by they I mean the Plains Indians. So I'm going to talk kind of specifically about the Blackfoot, but in general, all the nations of the Great Plains: the Lakota, the Dakota, the Cree, the Sioux, the Blackfoot. I'm wondering if they didn't really have to quote unquote follow the buffalo. In the same breath, we hear tell of herds by the thousands, the tens of thousands. If you combine, the millions and the tens of millions, and if you combine the sizes of the herds in Canada and in the U.S., in the Great Plains and in the prairies, hundreds of millions of buffalo. I don't think the Indigenous peoples really had to move around and follow the buffalo. I think it was later on they were forced to become more nomadic as the herds were purposely dwindled, and not dwindled by the Indigenous peoples. They knew how to preserve. I mean, if there's hundreds of millions of buffalo and only, a few million Indigenous peoples in the prairies, I mean, they're never going to run out of buffalo. It'd be almost impossible for them to overhunt buffalo, especially pre-horse and pre-rifle. So I'm thinking at first they didn't really migrate that much. They even touched on it in the Wikipedia, for crying out loud, that they were also fishing. You could fish there's tons of rivers here in southern Alberta, as I mentioned. Yeah, it's dry. They have to irrigate the farmland down here, but there are rivers and streams and creeks, and you can fish. There's trout and other fish. Plus, in the prairies, we have white-tailed deer, mule deer, antelope. In the foothills and in the Rockies, we have elk, and bighorn sheep, and mountain goats. All kinds of birds that you can hunt. I'm wondering if things got scarce after some kind of cataclysm. Even before the railroads came in and started purposely wiping out the buffalo, as there's sort of their second wave of genociding the Indigenous peoples. I don't know. It's just a theory I have that perhaps they weren't as nomadic as they or we are led to believe, and that there some cataclysm in and around 1700s-ish caused enough chaos where people were forced to leave and move around, and something happened that the resources, either migratory patterns of these animals changed, or their numbers suddenly dwindled, or something happened that now the Great Plains and the prairie Indians are now forced to be nomadic, and now they're having to start to live in teepees and drag their stuff around on horses, or even before horses, have dogs drag around their poles and their teepees and stuff. I don't know. It's just a thought. Anyway, I've got, for some reason, it always seems to come up when I'm researching the Guardian for some reason. This is the CalgaryGuardian.com. Historical photos of Siksika Nation, the Blackfoot Confederacy. And so I thought I would share some of this. And I've got some other photos that we can look at after we take a mid-show break here coming up. But we could just kind of skim through this. More so look at the photos because a lot of the narrative is the same. Almost line for line in some cases from the Wikipedia article or similar articles. Not quite cut and paste, but, you know, they get into who the peoples are and, you know, where they lived and some of their traditions, you know, North Saskatchewan River and Montana and all that, so on and so forth. And again, see the bison hunters and warriors often clashing with rivals such as the Cree or the Assiniboine. Right, I thought the Assiniboines were their friends that were go-betweens that helped them get the horses. No? Oh, here they're fighting with them. Okay, sure. They relied on the bison to provide the necessities of life and would follow the great herds from one hunting ground to the next. Their culture was passed down from one generation to the next orally, as they had no written language. This included the importance of sweat lodges, sun dances, and the use of medicine bundles, among other spiritual practices. After the Issahamoksika, Chief Crowfoot signed Treaty 7 on behalf of the Blackfoot Confederacy in 1877, the Siksika people were confined to their newly established reserve at Blackfoot Crossing, which is east of Calgary. There's a little Blackfoot girl there with her cat, 1880. Another siren. That's got to be a record. 3 on the show. That's a fire truck, though. Something's going down. Something's going down. Dragon Sage in the box. Howdy. Good to see you. Hello, hello. How's it going there, Bod? Blackfoot Siksika family migrating in southern Alberta, 1885. Yeah, see, they've got it's like a skid sled thing, and they put everything on it. And at first they had the dogs pull it, but then once they got horses, they got the horse to pull it along, I guess. Blackfoot man in Gleason, that's just southeast, a little bit southeast of Calgary, 1890. Blackfoot soldier clan dance in Gleason, 1890. A little dance over here, and they're having some kind of. These guys on horses are having their own party over there. Look like they're. Not gonna lie, looks like it's a lot of fun.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
It's action-packed here in the background tonight on the show. I don't know what's going on. Blackfoot made into coats and whatnot. Blackfoot man in Gleason, 1890. It's got that sort of chest plate armor thing made out of bone. Kind of cool. Blackfoot man on a horse, Alberta, 1890. Yeah, see these? Blackfoot dancers near Indian Agency on the Blackfoot Reserve in Alberta, 1900. Drying meat. See? There you go. Great way to preserve it. Drying meat, Blackfoot Reserve, 1900s in Alberta. Yeah, they're coming to take me away. Yeah, that's right. Little Blackbone and Frank Raw Eater, Blackfoot Reserve, Alberta, 1900. This guy, man, he's got a pretty sweet rifle there. Nice lever action. Chief Yellow Horse, Blackfoot Reserve, Alberta, 1900. It's this fella right here, I'm guessing. Blackfoot House and teepee. You see? Well, maybe more of a cabin, but sure, a house. Now, it would make sense. Now, if you're going to go on a hunt, right? Let's say you live in a band, right? Your native band lives in a little settlement like this. Let's say 1825, let's say, right? There's hardly anybody out here, just you and some other bands, maybe a few fur trappers and European settlers and a few Jesuit missionaries pestering you, but not much going on. It's just you and your other peoples. But you're going to go on a hunt. So you got your village of, let's say, 100 people, right? And like a dozen of you are going to go on a hunt. We're going to be gone 2 weeks. Well, where are you going to stay? Well, the teepee is the hunting tent. I think that's kind of how that evolved. It's like the Inuit, the Eskimo. Okay, they live in permanent villages, but when they go on the hunt, they go out along the edge of the Arctic Ocean. Let's say they're going to go on a seal or walrus hunt or even a whale hunt. That's where they build their igloo that they're going to stay in. It gets warm enough up there in the summertime that a lot of the ice on the land melts. So it's just like dirt and mud and rocks and grass up there. It's the tundra. So they can't live in an igloo up there in, August. It warms up enough to melt everything up there, unless you get into really far north. So it's kind of the same with these guys. I mean, they're not going to, if they're going to be gone for a 2-week hunt, it's like when you go camping for a week or a long weekend, sure, these days you could bring a fancy RV and go glamping, but I mean, a lot of people, when they would go camping, they'd have a tent. That's basically what it is. I think the story has been bamboozled and flim-flazzled to now, oh no, they lived in teepees all the time because they just wandered around. They didn't plant any roots. They just wandered around following the buffalo herds as the buffalo migrated. Yeah, but if the buffalo come that way and back every year, you're not going to lose them. Well, all you know is if we build our town here, we know the buffalo are going to be whizzing back and forth here. We get us enough buffalo, plus, the deer and the fish and everything else, we're good. Plant some corn, fantastic. Blackfoot just dressed for chicken dance, the Blackfoot Reserve in Alberta, 1900. Very extravagant. You gotta love the plumage and the feathers. It's amazing stuff. That's some good craftsmanship. I mean, you've seen footage of their dancing. It's trance-inducing for them. I think it's if it's done properly and in a traditional way. It's like any other transcendental. What's that? Transcendental state? I can't pronounce that, but you know what I'm getting at. It's like a hypnotic kind of higher state that they, it's like any other shaman or medicine man or ayahuasca or peyote or, that expression, get worked up into a frenzy. Yeah. You dance around chanting to music with large groups for extended periods of time, and you get right into it. You enter a different state. Thank you. That's it, Kathy. Transcendental state. Thank you. Why is that tough for me? I don't get it. Yeah, corn. Brian in the box. Yeah, corn, man. Corn could grow almost any. Even old-timey corn before they messed with it could grow almost anywhere. And corn grows really well in southern Alberta. Blackfoot surface grave. Blackfoot was, oh, that's nice. Yeah, the platform. High eagle. Blackfoot with rifle. What's this guy's name? High eagle. Blackfoot during Lord Minto's visit to the reserve, southern Alberta, 1900. First Blackfoot Ranch. See, there you go. Gleason. You got a cattle ranch. Blackfoot Powwow near Blackfoot Agency, southern Alberta. Blackfoot Agency, I think, is the name of like a county or a. I don't think it's a reserve or a reservation. It might be the name of like an old train station or something. Baja says, my neighbor grows corn. It's cool how tall the plants are. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid and we lived in just outside of Montreal. My parents had a really nice vegetable garden. My grandparents did too on their little farm. They had a really nice vegetable garden. But even in our backyard, you know, the usual stuff, right? Cucumbers, beans, corn, carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, onions. You try to get some berries in there, strawberries and raspberries if you could. My granddaddy, oh man, he had it made. They had that huge, he and my grandmama had that huge vegetable garden. But then granddaddy had a plum orchard and he had a small apple orchard. Plus he kept bees. Plus he grew sunflowers and he grew grapevines, Concord grapevines, to make his own wine. That little farm, man, it was pretty good. It's a little farm, speaking of, on the Blackfoot Reserve, 1900. Blackfoot student with teacher. I'm guessing this is the teacher, but which one's the student? Probably this one that does not look too impressed. This one right here, she's not looking too happy. She's probably the student, and there's the teacher. Blackfoot individual. We can't tell. So we'll say it's an individual. It's a man. It's a Blackfoot man. Just say it. This guy's name is Willie Mayfield. Really? Huh. Sounds like a soul singer from Motown 1962, doesn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, Willie Mayfield. Oh, baby! You make me want to cry all night long. Baby! Ladies and gentlemen, Willie Mayfield. William and Mary Waterchief. That's better. Little Axe. Sounds like a blues cat's name. I play mean guitar. What's your name, son? My name, they call me Little Axe. Where are you from, Little Axe? I'm from Arkansas. As a minor chief in the Siksika Reserve in Alberta, 1900. Some of these pictures are tiny, sorry, but I've got some other ones that we can zoom in here in the second half of the show. Blackfoot man standing outside in traditional clothing, southern Alberta, 1893, 94-ish. I wish they would have blown that up for us. Come on now. I can't click on it, so. Grand Parade of Blackfoot in Alberta, 1907. Wow, for a second I thought this guy painted his horse to look like a zebra, but that's his. I realized he's wearing a blanket or something. But they do often paint the hind quarters, the horse. Anyway, link below for that. That's from the CalgaryGuardian.com. Historical photos of the Siksika Nation. One other quick one here. This is from Canadian History Bits, WordPress.com. Then we'll take a mid-show break. And as per usual, I'll give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage. So 1800s photos, snapshots of Canada's past. History is more than just words on a screen or from a textbook. The series is a thematic look back at Canadian history through visual imagery. Yeah, okay, sure. Bobtail, Cree Chief, Alberta. Photo taken by A. Ross in 1886. Nice looking blanket. Can you zoom in on that? Nope. Bugger. Did you know studio photography was all the rage back in the Victorian 1880s? Even in Cowtown, Calgary, Alberta. Yep. The above photo is authentic and not a historical recreation. The photographer, Alexander J. Ross, 1851 to 1894, captured many different First Nations men and women on film between 1884 and 1891. This post takes a look at Ross's photographic career and the history of the Siksika Nation at large, as he took the most photos of them. Absolutely beautiful photos. And you know, I do know some Blackfoot folks, and yeah, warrior culture and fierce fighters, and the neighboring tribes were scared shitless of them and so on. But I can tell you, man, they're sweet, beautiful people. They're sweethearts. First Nations camp near Hudson's Bay Company store at Fort Calgary, Alberta. Yeah, there's the Hudson's Bay trading post there, these little log cabins. Fort Calgary is actually probably off to the side or maybe behind the photographer. Because they had to build a whole fort to protect these two little cabins for the fur trade, apparently. This is Katie, a Sarcee woman or Tsuut'ina woman, and her baby in Calgary, Alberta, 1886. Healthy, cute, little chubby little baby. That's how you like to see a little baby, all nice and chubby. This, by the way, is a Blackfoot Brave or a Warrior, 1889. I think we saw that photo on something else on that one, too. The Sarcee or Tsuut'ina people moving camp on the outskirts of Calgary, Alberta, 1886. Look at the juxtaposition of the Indigenous peoples setting up or tearing down their camp, but in the background you've got telephone or telegraph poles. It's just strange, right? Yeah, the little baby, come on. Look at that little bugger. That's a cute baby. Oh, how sweet. Yeah. This chubby little baby. 3 young Blackfoot men, 1887. It's a sweet hat, man. See what I mean by the hat with the big go bugger yourself plumes in there, man? It's like a big eagle or turkey feather or something. Sweet, man. I never have any luck. I find a lot of feathers when I'm out walking around, and I keep them and I do put them in my hats, but they're like magpie feathers. Of course, it's the city, and they're pigeon feathers, but I leave those be. Magpie feathers are okay. They're kind of black and white, but the black has kind of a teal green sheen or hue to it. But I don't find it, I don't ever, even when I'm out hunting and fishing, I don't ever find any big, like sharp-tailed grouse feathers or eagle or hawk feathers or turkey feathers. I wish, man. I wish. Ubukan is in the box. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you. Melted Syracuse Niak. There he is. How you doing? Welcome. And I think we saw this one. Yeah, Blackfoot Brave. All right, so yeah, there you go. Links below for those, as mentioned. There's some nice photos, especially in that second one. Yeah, they're for the most part they're in a. He brought them into a studio in Calgary, but so they're a little staged. But yeah, what are you gonna do? There's one photo that I think I saw where it was with a Blackfoot guy, but he's holding a sword, and I'm like, they didn't use sword. Why are you? It's a staged, photo, but why are you here? Hold this sword. Even the Blackfoot guy must have been like, a sword? Really? Are you kidding me? The hell? I don't have a sword. Just hands him a sword. Here you go. Warrior's a warrior. Indian, Viking. It's all the same. Just hold the sword, buddy. I just want to get a nice picture. You want it authentic or not? I'll hold a club, one of those, what they call a tomahawk, who's basically a big go F yourself rock lashed onto a really hard and treated piece of wood. You bop something on the head with that. Yeah, how about that? A sword. What am I, some kind of Roman soldier? No. Anyway, what do you say we take a mid-show break here? An hour and a half already. Just been having too much fun here today. I don't know. Take a mid-show break. Give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek. As always, every Wednesday you get vintage footage, and I like to give you a sneak peek of it here on the Sunday live show. And then as a reminder, of course, every Friday, boots on the ground. We're kind of some poking around here in the city. Find suspicious buildings that look like maybe they survived an old world reset. Or even just some buildings that stick out like a sore thumb that have a wacky narrative to them. 1-year wonders and stuff like that. Really, this giant sandstone school was built in a year when there was 10,000 people living here. Really? Okay, sure. Stuff like that. So without further ado, as mentioned, vintage footage video. This one is, you know what? We're winding up for the Calgary Stampede here coming up. I mentioned that earlier in the show. Going off on another tangent here now. But I mentioned that earlier in the show. World's biggest rodeo. It starts after Canada Day. Okay, that's just so fun to say. Canada Day. July the 1st is our nation's birthday. Then Independence Day, July 4th in the U.S. And I think, what is it, July 5th or 6th is the Stampede. July 4th is the Friday, so that's the first official day. That's the Stampede Parade Day starts. So I think this video is kind of not Stampede related, but Alberta related. I'm gonna get you kind of, because we're gonna have a Stampede Western themed live show during the Calgary Stampede, the world's biggest rodeo. This one is definitely Alberta themed, Southern Alberta themed. This is from, what year is this from? 1931. And this is from Waterton Lakes Park in southern Alberta, just where the foothills of the Rockies meet the Rockies themselves. About an hour and a half drive south of where I am here in Calgary. So yeah, Waterton Park here in Purdy, Alberta. Now, this video is about 4 minutes long. So stick around. We'll see you on the other side of 4 minutes. All right. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. All right, and we are back. I was like, where am I there for a second? What'd you think of that? Waterton Lakes Provincial Park, Waterton Park, Southern Alberta. Absolutely lovely down there. That's right in a guy's backyard. Frankie here, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode number 124 here already. Wow. The Great Plains people, tribes of the old world. We're looking at the Blackfoot, today being National Indigenous Peoples Day in Canada. We've looked at other Indigenous folks here on the channel in the past. Canada's original peoples, the Mi'kmaq. Overall Mi'kmaq in the box here. Hello, hello. But the Blackfoot are also right here in Purdy, Alberta, and in Montana as well. Parts of Saskatchewan. But yeah, fascinating band or tribe, confederacy actually, nation. Call them a nation, Blackfoot Nation. And that video you saw was basically right in the heart of Southern Alberta, Blackfoot territory as well. Phil Henry's here. Good to see you, Phil. Howdy, howdy. Hiya, Hippie. Hippie Shake is in the box. Brian Metz here as well. Howdy, Brian. Good to see you. Kathy Broughton's here. Dragon Sage. How's she going there, eh? Water the Tree is here. Hello, hello. As I mentioned, Old World Mi'kmaq in the box as well. Mr. Beast Fan and Chassis Nix. Good to see all of you. Thanks for shooting in, Morgan. Isabella Live 2.0. Ubu Khan. Thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly, eh? On, well, you know, it's the Sunday Fun Day. Woo! Woo! Thanks for winding down your weekend here. We're going to look at some other photos, and then we'll kind of, yeah, have a little fun at the end of the show, and that'll be that. So again, as a reminder, or if you're new to the channel, I've seen a lot of new faces, and a lot of new friends of the channel, by the way. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you joining us here. We have fun over here on this show, and I like to have a good time on my channel, but I like to dig down and get to the nitty-gritty of things and kind of poke holes at the official narrative. And I like to share my experiences with everybody who's interested. So all of you who are interested and have been supporting me these many years already, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. So let's have a look at some photos here. It's not a huge folder. I mean, there's a lot out there, but I really tried to narrow it down to Blackfoot in Alberta. But even when you filter it for that, I'm getting pictures of Blackfeet in Montana. And again, technically, I mean, it's the same confederacy, the same nation, same folk, same language, and clothing and culture and songs and food and traditions and whatnot. But, you know, a guy likes to try to keep her Canadian there around here, bud. You know. So there's a few out there, but not as many as I thought there would be, which is strange. Aside from, again, a lot of them that are in the photography studio, they're more staged portraits or posed photos. Whereas for the most part, I like to grab stuff that's a little bit more candid. So, you know, I'll go to the museum here in Calgary or other sources, and that's kind of where a lot of these came from. Some of them we've seen in those previous articles and whatnot, because, again, they're pretty few and far between. So let's see what we've got here. I should have mentioned at the top of the show, but my internet has been wonky. I actually had to phone and complain to the guy. I had to be a Darren and say, like, look, man, what is going on with my interwebs? I pay the good Canadian bucks for the premium top tier interwebs here, so I could do the live streaming and download lots of stuff. And, well, I'm sitting here half the day waiting for stuff to download or upload, you know. And the guy said, "Well, I'm sorry, it's probably weather related." I said, "It's raining out. I mean, it's you realize I'm calling you from Canada, right? I mean, if your interwebs service providing is having problems being provided with interwebs when it's raining, what are you going to do when it's minus 40 and there's a blizzard and 2 feet of snow, bub? A little drizzle is nothing." "Oh, it might be the rain." "Take off. The rain. What kind of answer is that?" So I said to him, "Well, I never used to have these problems because back in the day, up until about a year ago, there was 2 big cable companies in Calgary that would service my area. There was Shaw Cable and Rogers Cable. And, I had always had good experience with Shaw. So when my bro and I moved into this spot that we're in now, into this place, I said, "Yeah, let's get the Shaw, man. They're good." Didn't have a problem for years with the Shaw, with the internet. The company's called Shaw Cable or whatever, but it's internet. I don't have cable. Are you kidding? Stuff's crazy. But anyway, they merged with Rogers, and now it's gone up $15 a month. And I've had, in the last 3 months, I've had problems. I call them and they send a guy out and he does a couple of things and that should do it. And then it seems fine for a while. And then something goes all cockamamie. I don't get it. So yeah, at the phone, and they're like, "Well, we'll send a guy again." And I'm like, "Well," the guy says, "Well, on our end, from what I can see, it looks like it's a problem with the main junction box that then they beam it into or send it through the wires actually to each unit in the building, right? But it's got to come from the line to the building, and there's a box. No, it's the problem with the box there." I said, "We've been noticing this since all the upgrades from we merged." I said, did you just say you had upgrades since you merged?" "Yeah, we've done a lot of upgrades." So what kind of upgrades? Like I said, rain resistance is definitely not one of the upgrades. You didn't think to upgrade that, did you? Anyway, let's see what we got here for the photographs. Again, this is the Blackfoot man in Gleason. I think we saw this on another site. See, it's not really a teepee, but it's not really a permanent dwelling either, although it does look like they have a wood stove in there. This is where they're drying the meat. So again, this might be just on a hunt, and this is just temporary dwelling. It's just where we stay when we're hunting. It's our hunting tent. Yeah, it's probably more like it. PCS World says upgrades happened at headquarters only. Yeah, like wage increases for the managers and the CEOs and whatnot. This is Blackfoot. Some Blackfoot gentlemen here in Alberta, 1900. Kind of dig this dude's pants. He's got one of them cool hats too. There you go. Obviously some kind of ceremony, because this is going to be your everyday garb, a lot more practical, especially if you're a rancher or a farmer. This is going to be more of the traditional ceremonial garb. Quite outstanding and very fantastic, though. Again, I'm always flabbergasted by the intricate beadwork. These are all just like little beads, like just tens of thousands of beads, all hand stitched, all knotted by hand. Blackfoot dancers, yeah, we saw this one too, near Indian Agency. So it is a reservation, a reserve. Not gonna lie, bud, that's a nice hat there. I would rock me that hat in a second. What the heck we got going on here? Is that a mirror? I don't know. Looks like a mirror to me. This guy's one of the famous Scottish Blackfoot. I'm going to rock a kilt to this whoop up. There's the chicken dance guy. See, now we can zoom in on this. Look at this. He's got some kind of beat the snot out of you stick here. It's actually a tomahawk. Yeah. This, I believe, is a headdress, actually. Again, all these beads, man. The belt is all beads. These armbands, beads. I mean, in of themselves, those beads are pretty worthless. So, you know, it seems like the indigenous peoples were kind of bamboozled to trade like good stuff like pelts and furs and things like that for beads. But I got to tell you, they sure made those beads valuable. Just all of that intricate stitchwork and beadwork that they made those worthless beads very valuable, because that's some beautiful artistic work. This is a Blackfoot encampment in Gleason around 1900. In the foreground, 3 groups of horse travail are propped up upright in a teepee formation to ensure they do not rot and to provide shade on hot sunny days. So these are those skids that they use, and then they've just hung blankets here to provide shade. It's pretty smart. Blackfoot house, yeah, we saw this, and the teepee. So again, why would you live in this when you could live in a permanent dwelling? So I think originally Blackfoot did live in villages that were towns and had permanent dwellings. And when they would go on a hunt, then they would take something that was practical with them that they could stay in for a few weeks. You know, if they were going on a moose or an elk or a deer or a buffalo hunt or on a fishing expedition up to the lakes, you drag a few of these with, a dozen of your buddies. You bring some supplies and some food, a couple of dogs. You're good. It's a chance to, for the men to bond and do men things. And it's a chance for the ladies of the village or the settlement to get some of these men the hell out of our hair for a while, get them out of here so we can have some lady fun stuff to do without having to worry about these goofs running around. And I think eventually, like I mentioned at the top half of the show, I think that eventually the narrative was twisted around. Oh yeah, no, the Great Plains / prairie, quote unquote, Indians, they always lived in teepees. Winter, summer, doesn't matter, because they follow the buffalo around. But then, as mentioned in the same breath, they also tell us that there was tens of millions of buffalo. So why would you have to follow them around when it's such easy pickings? This is from a postcard, actually, but it's Blackfoot Indian camp assembled for a Sundance. And this is in the Bow River Valley, very close to here. See, this is a camp that they've just assembled here. This isn't a permanent settlement or village. I think that there should be a marked... Oh, there it is again. There should be a marked distinction there, I think. Blackfoot woman, Alberta, 1900. There's some meat drying there, it looks like. Deer or antelope or bison. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. PCS World asking, are you sure they didn't live in those buildings they claim we founded and the teepees were just camping equipment? Sort of, kind of. I think they lived in, towns, villages, in permanent dwellings. Did they live in these Greco-Roman inspired old world buildings that we see all over the realm and that I've shown boots on the ground on my channel here in Calgary, but we see that everywhere. Maybe, I don't know. They don't even know. Again, they've been just as bamboozled as we have. In fact, they've been double bamboozled. But yeah, basically they lived in permanent dwellings, and they would use the teepees or wigwams as, basically when they would go on a hunt, or go on a fishing. Yeah, like hunting party camp. Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm guessing. Oldworld Mi'kmaq says castles weren't practical anymore as protection from wildlife when they had to leave to hunt. He says we could all admit living back then was intense. Just an Indian joke there for you. That's pretty good. That's not too bad. That's funny. Blackfoot Camp near. See, they're. And when they say camp, again, this is that one where here's the Hudson's Bay trading outpost buildings, these 2 log cabins. So it's a camp. It's not their village. It's a camp. They would come to the fort and they would trade, and they'd be there for a few days, hang out. Other tribes and other bands would come also to trade, so then they could have a powwow or a whoop up, scare the crap out of the white man because, they're dancing and drumming and singing and partying. And a lot of the European folks couldn't speak the language. They couldn't speak Blackfoot. And if there wasn't an interpreter around, they would tell them, oh, yeah, don't worry, man. That's just Sundance, or that's just a welcome song or a medicine song. It's fine. It's fine. So, yeah, they would come and hang out for a few days, but then they would go back to their village or their town. So this is Chief Mountain. I've also seen him named Chief Big Mountain. By the way, man, if you're going to have an elder statesman, a quote-unquote chief, there you go, man. So that's not his hair, is it? No, it looks like a bundle of feathers or something. Pipe there. He also doesn't look too impressed. All right, now sit still now, Chief. Don't move now, Chief. He's like, yeah, I heard you. I understand how this works. All right? Not some kind of idiot. Just take the picture, will you? Got stuff to do. Now sit still there now, Chief. Whatever you do, don't smile. Trust me, man, I ain't going to smile. Again, that's that grand parade. Yeah, that's definitely his blanket. At first, I thought he painted his whole horse like that. I was like, man, this guy really took some time. This is High Eagle again. You can really zoom in on. This is a very familiar symbol, isn't it? We see that a lot in Indigenous peoples, but we see that, again, all over the world. Not sure if that's a bird or a flower. This could be a flower. It's like a 5-pointed star, but it could be a 5-petaled flower. It could be the Alberta wild rose, actually. Got some kind of swirled stitching here. It's very nice. Old Sun. He's the head chief of the North Blackfoot, the Siksika Nation. Not quite as far south as Waterton Lakes area. Yeah, that's right. Old World Mi'kmaq says the Templar used that symbol as well. Yes, yeah, that sort of this one here, I think, is the one you're referring to. Curtis is in the box. Maybe they are so dark-skinned because of the Moors that were living there. Possibly. There's been a lot of different hypotheses regarding indigenous peoples in the New World. So this is the a Sundance camp. So Blackfoot and Pagan Reservation in southern Alberta, 1889. It's a pretty big encampment. Yeah, it could be. Beaver pelt hat. It's definitely a top hat. Probably traded it. Then he's like, yeah, I'm going to go put on some big fuck off feathers in it and make it my own, man. Kind of dig this whole, that's like I think that's a raven's wing. It's a bloody big wing. Could be a raven. I like that though. It's nice. See that a lot. Yeah, not the Blackfoot, the Moorfoot. Sure. This is a nice shot. 3 chiefs, 3 Pagan chiefs. Pagan are a band in the Blackfoot Confederacy. Nice horses too. Nice and healthy. Very alert, very curious horses. A bunch of flea-bitten old nags, you know. This is Wolf Leg. Man, telling you, you folks got some kick-ass names, man. What's your name? John Smith. What's yours? My name's Wolf Leg. Wow. Really? I got stuck with Frankie, huh? Frankie Fingers, huh? There's tent or teepee in the background, too, eh? Wow. Nice. Got all the stitch work. That's another 5-pointed star there. No doubt his rifle is in here. Still got the price tag on it, proof of purchase. Say, boy, where'd you get that rifle? Here's my receipt. Oh, all right, as you were. Look at this. Even the moccasins, man. Fancy. Very nice. This is Chief Crowfoot. $1,900. Again, that wing. Curtis is God, we ruined that prairie. Yeah. Yeah. You like that one, do you? Hey, let me ask you, Old World Mi'kmaq, is this a thing with the Mi'kmaq people? I mean, you guys are way on the other side, way over in, you know, Nova Scotia land there, eh? But, or is it more of a, you know, a plains, a Great Plains, a prairies indigenous thing? I see it in a lot of ceremonial. There was some footage of what appeared to be a chief in that video that I showed at the top of the show. But as I said, that was a really long video. I just snipped it down. But in some of the portions I snipped out, there was a lot of sort of ceremonial greetings and speeches and so on and so forth. And a lot of the fellows had these wings. Oh, yeah, it's starting to become more of a thing now. Okay. But traditionally, maybe not so much. I don't know. This is also Chief Crowfoot of the Blackfoot. He's there. It's a pretty famous guy. We have different streets and areas in and around here called Crowfoot this and that. And of course, Crowchild Trail, Blackfoot Trail, Pagan Trail. Really? Old World Mailbox says a Blackfoot actually taught me how to harvest an eagle for feathers. Huh. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I agree, Hippie. Hippie Shake in the box is beautiful embroidery. Yes. Channel 53 says, seems like the Moors just went everywhere. Anybody that was considered a seafaring peoples, if they could really get the hang of seafaring, and I mean, there's a big difference between sailing in the Mediterranean and sailing in the open ocean. But if you're a coastal people that live on the coast of the ocean, you're a lot more accustomed to building ocean-worthy vessels, and therefore probably being able to sail the open ocean much more easily, be much more adept at it, and you could go further. So certainly arguments, I mean, we've seen that with Polynesians, and again, just going by what we're told, we don't actually know, but, Polynesians all over the South Pacific, potentially all the way to South America and Central America, the Moors, the Phoenicians, Yeah, possibly. Brian in the box, Brian Metz saying may have been a Moorish civilization here prior to the induced catastrophe. Hippie Shake says, reminds me of that film with Johnny Depp in playing the Indian with the crow on his head. Yeah, that was the Lone Ranger? He played Tonto. I believe he played Tonto. Well, that's the thing, right? If they were able to chase down buffalo and have all that hunting technology and, all of that stuff, being able to harvest, first of all, being strategic enough to be able to figure out how to do it, and then to be smart enough to take ideas and put them into action, and then perfect that whole thing, and then being able to harvest pretty much every last little bit from the bison or the buffalo. Then, yeah, if you're coastal peoples and you're fishing and doing all of that same sort of thing to that extent with your intellect and all the technology and constantly improving, yeah, you should be able to do one or the other. I think this is the last photo in my file here of Chief Crowfoot. Yep, that's it. So, yeah, there you go. The Blackfoot Nation here in southern Alberta in the prairies. Yeah, that's the one, right? Yeah. I mean, he was pretty good at that. I mean, I like Johnny Depp, man. Like, is he Steve McQueen or Laurence Olivier or, insert legendary actor, thespian actor name here, No, but he's not terrible. Johnny Depp is good. He can really get into a character. Yeah, he's pretty famous for the Captain Jack thing and all that, right? The Pirates of the Caribbean. But I like Johnny Depp, man. He's cool and he does cool movies. He does some weird, quirky stuff, but he's good. I think a lot of people were bent out of shape that a white man was playing a indigenous Native American, playing the role of Tonto. They're like, there's literally hundreds of Native American actors that they could have got to play Tonto. But, yeah, No different than Italians playing Mexicans in those spaghetti western movies that Clint Eastwood made in the '60s, right? What did they say on The Simpsons? So you can't have a horse in the movies because a horse doesn't look like a horse on film. You gotta like tape like 7 cats together or whatever that stupid bit was. Something like that. Because it won't show up on film otherwise. Ridiculous. Yeah, I think the Polynesians. We're told they made it all the way to like basically right smack dab in the middle of nowhere of the Pacific Ocean, right? The Easter Island. And now there's evidence showing that they may have, like the people that we think of today that are living on Easter Island that got there back in what was it, the 1200s or the 1400s or whatever, were not the first people. But there was people that were there before them. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows where they could have ended up? And if ocean levels were different back then, again, according to their own narrative, they tell us the ocean levels were different back then. The polar ice caps and all that were much larger, which sucked up and froze up a lot, held up a lot of that water in the form of ice, right? So the ocean levels were way lower. Stuff that's submerged now would have been exposed above the surface. So you could have basically island hopped, even if you're just taking a break for a day somewhere or to wait out a storm on some island. Oh, storm's rolling in. All right, well, there's an island, a tiny little island, half a mile by half a mile. Straight that away. Keep paddling, boys, or whatever, and we'll get there. And they wait out the storm. And I mean, it's still a vast area to travel, but with sea levels being lower and more landforms popping up out of the surface of the water, it probably wouldn't be as difficult. But who knows? John 53 says, I just watched History Hit on Easter Island. Unbelievable. There you go. Well, even if how they found it, like back in whatever it was, 1400 or whatever, like you have a hard time finding that thing on a map. And supposedly there's no maps. They just, I don't know, it was like the chief or whatever just said, let's go that way there, fellers. How do you know something there? Oh, there'll be something there. Yeah. Trust me, there's something there. And then sure enough, like, I don't even understand it. Just the number crunching on that is mind boggling. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty, and there's places like that all over the realm too. I mean, even if you just look at some of these indigenous villages that are like up in the Rocky Mountains, whether it's here in Canada or down in the US or in the southern United States, where they build these like cliffside villages and stuff. Very, very isolated areas. And one wonders, I guess, one of two things. They were a flourishing community that was part of a network of communities pre-catastrophe, and after the cataclysm, they were damaged somehow and had to be abandoned, or everybody was wiped out, and just the old buildings remain. The old cliffside villages and the hilltop fortified villages and whatnot. Or I don't know. I can't even think of what else. they overforested the hell out of it and apparently quit making the monuments to save resources. 14,000 people allegedly at the high point. Yeah, I've heard some story that there's two basically warring factions on the island. And they were at war with one another for a long time. And eventually they decided to get into carving the statues instead. But they had to use so much wood to carve those statues, to, stand them up, move them, transport them, that they cut down every last tree on the island. I have trouble believing. Like, that's what the poisoned people, the evildoer people do, the parasitic people do. They move into an area and they just destroy everything and suck everything up and, for themselves. But people that are stewards of the land or see themselves as, a righteous soul of a being and doesn't mean any harm, isn't going to lay waste to where they choose to inhabit. They're going to try to encourage the life and the sustenance and the very nature of their environment. It's antithetical to move into a place and just destroy everything around you, because then otherwise, why am I here? Now everything's effed up and now I got to get out of here and find another place. Whereas if you would just steward everything and maintain everything and be righteous about it, be a good soul, right? So I have trouble believing that they went through all over the Pacific Ocean, through all that trouble, basically dead reckoning guess, to get to that little tiny island, to start a new civilization or a new life there, only to completely wipe it of all trees, so then it becomes barren. Now we can't even build huts now. Look what we done did. We cut down all the trees. We can't build boats to get out of here. We can't build huts. We can't make fires. I think there's something else going on with that story. But again, it's just me. They still haven't been able to decipher that ancient language that they found there on that island in some cave. I can't remember if it's carved in wood or if it's carved in stone, but it's some kind of cuneiform or hieroglyphic type language that even the people that live on the island, the people that have been there, since their ancestors in the 1400s or whatever, excuse me, they don't know what it says. They can't read it. I can't remember what those things are called, but who knows what those say, right? Dragon sages. It sounds like baloney. Boss shenanigans. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of that going around.
Shenanigans.
Absolutely. What's this place? Oh, Rapa Nui, Easter Island. And that's a double whammy. If it's a fruit-bearing tree, let's cut down all the trees. Let's destroy all the trees that give us sustenance. Right? It's like, if you have a chicken, right? You keep that chicken healthy and happy and fed, that chicken will just keep giving you eggs. For years, you could have eggs from that chicken. But if you eat that chicken, well, that's that. You get a good meal or two from that chicken. Admittedly, that's a delicious bird right there. Chicken. But after that, what do you got? Bubkiss. So, just seems so, I don't know. A correctly wired Brian doesn't work that way. Oh, look, this fruit-bearing tree is going to give me all kinds of fruit for as long as I live. Maybe I'll cut it down. What? What are you talking about? That would be like my granddaddy planting all those apple and plum trees, and after they became mature and started bearing fruit, he just hacked them down and had a big bonfire. Granddaddy, what'd you do that for? Well, that's what trees for. Anyway, I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here. 2.25 hours. Guys, just been jabberjawing on. Still 22 of you hanging out like troopers with me here. 23 of you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to do all the things for me before we go, just to help a guy out. Really, really appreciate that. Well, they did decimate big trees in the States. Yeah, the sequoias and the redwoods, cutting a lot of those down. Did the same thing here in British Columbia. The sequoias and redwoods there as well. A tree big enough that you could drive your car through if you just cut a hole in it. That will just cut that down. What for? We're going to make some tables and chairs and stuff. What do you mean, what for? We need the wood, man. Yeah, but those are hundreds, if not thousands of year old trees, as best we can guess. Well, we'll find out for sure when we cut it down and we can cut the rings or count the rings. Great. Thanks. It's not what I was getting at. It's not what I was getting at all. Anyways, let's see what we got here before we go. I think Kathy sent me some stuff. What'd you send me, Kathy? She sent me something pretty good here. Let's see what's going on with this guy. Oh, yeah, that guy's going to be just fine. He's fine. He's having a nice glass of vino. Looks like he's having choice in the right day. Especially with the red wine. Some soup, eh? Oh, sure, why not? Why not? You know what, buddy? Have your soup and wine in the rain. Good for you. Good for you. What else we got? Oh, we got a little bit of Anthony from Boston. Anthony from Boston, going.
These days, you can pay $7.99 a month though to see a not so fresh one if you want. Sorry, we're closed. Why?
Start that again. Or something happened.
Fresh veggies? Hard to find these days. You can pay $7.99 a month though to see a not so fresh one if you want. Sorry.
We're having some problems, aren't we? Is it getting a bit of a lag? Oh, that's because there's a couple of raindrops are falling outside. I better phone the cable company and complain. Oh, sir, it's probably just the rain affecting your internet. There's going to be some trouble in the wintertime.
We're closed. Why? Just due to personal circumcisions? Need I say more? All right, now you're going to take one capsule by mouth every 12 hours with wood, okay? With what? Anal egg hunt. April 12th, 10 a.m., free family event. Bring the whole family. Can you pass me a Kinvey? Pass me a Kinvey real quick. 2 for $1. Porn and beans. What a combination. Some of us know what it's like. Oh,
Oh, man.
What's this one? Let me smell it. Mississippi's literacy program shows improvement. Oh, yeah? How much improvement? This is the...
Oh, man. He gets me every time. He's just so funny to me. And it's just his reactions. His reactions are so good. He gets me every time.
first word we all knew how to spell that was like semi-difficult. M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I. Come on. Parmesan? This has to be Philadelphia, right? Shout out to my people from Philadelphia, except for Eagles fans. Please keep off water. Who's this for? Who's this sign for? Jesus? Can you pass the cheam creams? Pass me the cheam creams?
That's got to be the third time now that somebody sent them the cheam creams. There are really not many people. It's been so many times now that you can go to his channel and he's got a merch store and you can order a t-shirt or a hoodie or something that says cheap creams on it. That's how often people are writing cream cream instead of cream cheese.
I wet my jockeys here.
It's ridiculous.
Housekeeping, you ready for come clean?
There you go. It's too much. Oh, yeah, I have an update on the Canada goose situation. Remember a month back? Remember about a month back, I had the Canada goose that was decided to nest on the roof of my building. And I went out on the balcony, I don't know, the next day, he just reared his head down and started hissing. They've moved on now. But I was over to a boots ground a spot that I wanted to film. I took my bike and I did right. Can you hear me? Test, test. 1, 2, 3, test. Test. I think I'm, but hello, test 1, 2, 3, testing. Son of Mr. Roboto. All right, so that's gonna seal the deal. Thanks, all right, for Frankie. New West Reset live. Thanks, everyone. Take care out there, and until the next one, have yourselves a good one. All right. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.